Boys in America have so much going for them. Enormous energy, opportunity, enthusiasm.
Everybody shut up and listen.
But they're also in serious trouble.
Is that good, man?
Doing worse in the classroom now than they did 10 years ago.
What up, Daddy?
Hard to talk to, unaware of their emotions.
Just swing, hurry up.
And the most violent in the industrialized world. Why are our boys having such trouble? And what can we do about it?
I knew that I was angry because I was always mad.
My name's Michael Thompson. I'm a psychologist. I believe that we can help our boys, but first we must better understand their psychology.
Play violence is not violence, and we lose credibility with boys when we think it is.
In this program, I'm going to show you new research exploring boys' inner lives, as well as innovative programs that help bring out the best in boys.
Boys need room to get up and move around. We've got to get men as role models in these boys' lives.
And I'm going to introduce you to a group of remarkable boys. We gave some of them cameras, and the footage they shot will help us enter their hearts and minds.
That's all there is to me.
National funding for this program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Tell me when to push. Oh. Oh God, I felt that. Oh my God.
There he is.
It's a boy.
Take him over.
What makes a boy a boy?
Okay.
Is it biology? His genes? Or must he be taught to be a boy?
Wanna hold Daddy's finger?
Is it nature? Or is it nurture?
Calm this down.
The answer, of course, is both. Nature and nurture. Now, we can't do much about nature, but we can improve the way we raise our boys.
You're crying. I missed you too.
At home, in school, and after school.
Mommy, I'm big brother now.
You are.
But first, we've got to correct some common misconceptions. They start early on with our stereotypes about baby boys and girls. I've come here to consult with an expert on the subject. Hi, I'm Michael Thompson.
Hi, I'm Robin.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to
You've got some babies for us today.
We certainly do. We have 3 boys and 1 girl.
And can you tell a difference between boys and girls when you just have them in nursery like this?
No,
You don't see any gender difference.
none.
How many years have you been at this?
23.
Okay. Research confirms what head nurse Robin Muldoon is saying. Genetically, baby boys and girls have far more similarities than differences. I get my boy here. But in spite of the similarities, as this baby boy grows up, he'll be bombarded with messages that tell him he must deny parts of his emotional life to become a man.
Go, 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 go!
Consider the football player. He exemplifies our traditional view of masculinity. Young boys hunger for men to tell them how to be masculine. And men give instructions based on their conceptions of boy psychology.
Boys have to get their aggression out. I don't care what anybody says. They have to get it out. And so let's do it here versus somewhere else.
When boys hear themselves described as aggressive, they try to live up to that expectation.
Bang them up!
What do you get to do in football that you don't get to do in normal life?
You get to nail people.
Yeah, and what's good about that?
You get to hurt them. You get to kick ass.
Hey, you gotta play tough here. Tad, Rockwell, you gotta start smashing people, okay? Otherwise, they're gonna smash you. Okay?
Men often tell boys that anger is a manly emotion, but feelings of vulnerability and fear are not.
Joey! Joey! Hustle up! You guys know what pass blocking is? Yeah? How come nobody did it?
I didn't.
Huh? You gotta go in there and you gotta be tough, but you can't be sissying out, all right?
Maybe that's what the coach's father taught him.
You gotta be tougher than they are. That's the bottom line.
And so it goes, from generation to generation.
What is it that makes a man a man?
Not crying over nothing. A man is somebody who's not a wuss and doesn't cry all the time. Tough, never cry, doesn't cry a lot.
On two.
You know when a 9-year-old boy says that boys shouldn't cry, he may suddenly remember that he himself cried twice that day already. And that raises a doubt which hangs over every boy's head. Am I man enough?
When I think of how I be a man when I grow up, and grow up like my big brother.
Are boys naturally tough and aggressive? Sometimes. Are they tougher than girls? Remarkable new research suggests a surprising answer to that question. Neurologist Catherine Weinberg of the Harvard University Medical School is conducting experiments that are changing some basic ideas about the psychology of infant boys and girls.
And then you want to strap her in so she doesn't go anywhere.
Hi, Catherine. It's nice to see
Michael.
you.
Oh, very nice meeting you.
Are we ready for the experiment?
Yes, I think so.
And we've got a baby?
Yes, we have a baby already.
The experiment will test how infant boys and girls react when their mothers ignore them.
The mother has been instructed to just play with the baby as she normally would for 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then she's going to turn her back to the baby for a few seconds. And then come back and keep what we call a still face, which is basically a poker face. We want to see what the baby does in response.
Okay.
So she looks around the room.
She remains calm and composed. Since 1999, Weinberg has tested hundreds of infant girls. 70% of them react like Lena.
Okay.
And now Catherine brings in an infant boy and his mother.
Just swivel the chair and then look in that direction, basically.
Okay.
Do you have any questions at all before we begin?
Are you going to cue me just when to do what thing?
Yes,
or?
I will.
Great.
Definitely.
Okay. Do I play peekaboo with Mommy? Where's Mommy?
Where's Mommy?
Peekaboo! Where's Mommy?
After Catherine asks the mother to stop interacting, baby Desmond responds very differently than baby Lena.
He's clearly telling her, I don't like this, just stop it.
Many baby boys, like Desmond, become distressed without their mother's attention. They can't calm themselves. With these babies that we follow today, we're seeing the patterns that you see always.
Yes, definitely. And the baby, of course, greets her.
So Weinberg's research upsets our stereotypes. Baby boys are, in fact, more emotionally vulnerable than baby girls.
Want to play peekaboo with Mama? Ready?
But we soon begin to treat young boys as if they had less of an emotional life than girls, because we start to focus on another boy behavior, their greater physical activity.
Is that funny?
It may come as a surprise to learn that aggressive behavior among boys and girls peaks, not in adolescence, but around age 2.
No.
Sometimes, even the most well-run childcare setting can look like a free-for-all. After age 2, aggression declines, but more slowly among boys. In fact, for the rest of their childhood, boys will tend to be more physically active and more impulsive than girls of the same age, and less developmentally mature. The reason, in large part, is biological. In the womb, boys' brains are washed in androgens, male hormones that predispose them to greater physical activity. But biology is not the only factor that shapes boys' behavior. Just as important is the way our society manages it. Of course, adults must intervene if kids are in danger. But too often, even the smallest act of aggression rings adult alarm bells, as if it were adult violence. But is that the only way to handle it? To try to answer this question, I've come to Arizona State University in Tempe to visit anthropologist Joe Tobin.
He looks over the teacher.
For more than 20 years, Joe's been studying the ways that preschools in Japan handle boy aggression, and what he's found may come as a real surprise to the average American parent.
Let's look at this clip that's the most notorious moment in our study. This is after lunch, and the kids are sitting out on the balcony. The teacher is just inside, 10 feet away.
Okay.
Hiroki, in the overalls here, hits Satoshi, the boy in yellow.
The teacher's right there, but she's not doing anything. In fact, she's ignoring it. What's Satoshi supposed to do?
He goes back and wants satisfaction from Hiroki, so he will now reaches over to Hiroki with his ninja throwing star. He's made his aluminum foil from lunch into a ninja star.
Of course.
As you would. Now he holds his hand out, and Hiroki now is going to, with his bare foot, is going to step on Satoshi's hand. And Satoshi starts sobbing, but Midori to the rescue. Midori comes over, leads him away from Hiroki, and talks to him, and she says, "What happened?" Of course, she knows what happened. She was watching. He says, "Yeah, Hiroki punched me, then he stepped on my hand."
Yes.
She repeats it. "Yeah, he got stepped on by Hiroki." And the other girl says, "That always happens when you play with Hiroki. If you don't want to get hurt, play with someone else next time." The American teachers who see the footage of the non-intervention mostly are horrified because they feel that their prime directive is that nobody be hurt in their classroom. And they feel that you have to intervene for two reasons. One, to protect children from being hurt. Two, to protect children from developing bad habits of hurting. The Japanese approach, which I endorse, is if you start when they're young, communicating to them that they are responsible for their interactions with each other and to the social climate of the classroom, they will learn to take responsibility for it.
So they will teach each other conflict resolution if we're not intervening constantly.
When you ask Japanese teachers what's the most important reason to have preschool or to send kids to preschool, they don't say academics. That's just 1%. Their top answer is children need a chance to learn to be a member of a group.
So Japanese preschools have a different attitude towards boys' aggressiveness. And, as Joe discovered when he returned in 2002, there's also a higher expectation of boys' ability to empathize, to have an emotional connection with other children.
Every day after nap time, 5 or 6 of the older kids go downstairs, and they're called monitors. Now, the older boy has taken the 2-year-old boy to the urinal.
Right.
And he says, "Pee, please." And the younger boy starts to pee. He helps him pick his shirt up because he's afraid he's going to pee on his shirt.
Right.
These things happen. Then he says, "Is it coming out?" And he says, "Anything left in your pee-pee?" And then he says, "Okay, now I'm going to flush."
Yeah.
He flushes.
And the little boy screams.
And what I love about this is teaching at its finest.
Right.
This older boy is teaching a subject matter he knows a lot about and loves.
Right.
He pretends to be afraid of the sound of the flush. He's young enough to remember what it must be like to be both excited and afraid of the sound of the flush.
Right.
So he performs with the younger boy this
Perfect
excitement
empathy.
and fear.
No, it's perfect empathy.
Then he says, like, oh, we're not afraid. When I asked them, why do you let the older kids play with babies? They said, we do it for the sake of the older kids. Because if you don't take care of a younger kid when you're yourself young, you may miss a critical period for developing omoiati, is a word that means something like empathy.
Here's a wonderful example of children resolving a conflict on their own. After the boy hits her, the girl walks away. Will she call the teacher? No, because the boy literally puts himself at her level to show her he's sorry. This doesn't mean that Japanese schools are perfect. Bullying becomes a serious problem in older grades. But schools here seem to be less frightened of young boys than U.S. schools, where even a young boy's violent fantasies can sometimes get him into trouble. At the Touchstone School in Grafton, Massachusetts, 5-year-old Seth is about to discover that his imagination can create problems. Seth enjoys learning and plays well with his classmates. At this age, boys and girls prefer the company of their own gender. The girls, on average, are up to a year ahead of the boys in verbal and fine motor skills. And there are psychological differences as well. While boys and girls still play games like hide and seek together, their fantasy lives have begun to differ.
I want to hear from Rachel, Ray.
Seth's teacher, Jane Catch, sees these differences emerge in the stories that the children create.
Each morning, I have the kids come to this table and tell me a story, and I write it down in their words.
Once there was, what's this?
A panda?
Then an elephant came over.
And then an elephant came over.
They all had a sleepover.
Girls tend to tell stories about friendship and family. Boys' stories are often much more dramatic, with lots of conflict and violence.
Now, we have a lot of stories from this morning.
Jane wrote a wonderful book, Under Dead Man's Skin, about boys' fantasies, the problems they can create, and the best way to handle them.
So we left off with Seth? Okay, very good. There was a unicorn, and its friend was a horse. And the horse got killed by a very old man. The unicorn killed the old man, and then the unicorn lived happily ever after. Almost all the girls agreed that this made them sad. What about you, Lydia?
It makes me feel bad for the horse and the old man because I really live on a horse farm and I really care about horses more than anything in the whole world, and I really don't like that part.
That idea spread very quickly among the girls, that the boys shouldn't tell these violent stories.
I agree with Lydia.
So horses are really important to you?
Yeah, I agree with Lydia too.
Okay. Seth said he really wanted it to be that way, that he didn't feel okay about just having the old man faint, which was what the girls wanted the solution to be.
In many schools, teachers simply impose a solution. No violent story is allowed. But Jane believes that it's important for the children to work through the issue themselves, even though it can be a struggle.
And Seth, what about you?
I like it when people don't change the story.
Okay, so he told his story, and he doesn't want people to change it. Now we have a real problem to solve.
Well,
Emily and then Kelly. So the author's right to tell a meaningful story the way it feels right seemed very clear. At the same time, the intensity of the kids' wishes to not have violence that made them uncomfortable also seemed really important. And I don't know how they're going to solve that problem.
I left the class at this point to fetch a scholar with special insight into the issue. Tom Newkirk teaches writing at the University of New Hampshire. In his remarkable book, Misreading Masculinity, Tom argues that boys lag behind girls in literacy largely because teachers discourage them from reading and writing about the things they're interested in.
There's schools that want to eliminate violence in writing. I say, are you going to eliminate violence in reading too? That would cut out everything. That would cut out, 90% of the plots that have ever been written. I think violent writing tests our fear. We're exploring our fear of death.
You and Jane are some of the only two people I know who are willing to come out in print and say, this is what boys want to talk about and write about.
It's part of human nature to be fascinated with death, with battles, and I don't think that interest turns you into to killers. I think there's some limits you have to set. For example, I don't think you could have a violent story in a classroom where another kid in the class is the object of that violence.
How did you come to your understanding that it was okay, that it wasn't dangerous?
Well, I was partly thinking of what I was like as a kid. I was into violence. I was into cowboys and Indians. I had my pistols. I had the whole works, and I didn't turn into a killer.
When I returned with Tom, we got a surprise. The class had decided that there could be no more stories about dying, only fainting. With Jane's permission, we asked the children to talk about their decision. Erica, do you ever write stories about animals dying? You never do.
What about fainting?
Is fainting as good as dying in a story? No, why isn't it as good?
Because they just run out of breath. Like you're running and you have to slow down.
And that's fainting. And how's dying different from fainting?
You die.
All right, let's go.
What about kindergarten stories about death?
Well, I wonder whether death in these stories is similar to death when they're out in the playground and, you die, you fall down, then you're up again. It's not a real thing. It's play.
I know so many parents who are upset by that.
I think that they're upset because they think that this kind of play will lead to real-life aggression. Most boys have a sense of what's reality and what's fantasy, and what's play and what's real.
So does this mean it's okay to expose children to violent TV, movies, and video games? Jane cautions that images of graphic violence can be harmful to children under 7.
The violence in their inner life doesn't have a lot of gore at age 5. It doesn't have blood. And so when they see the violence in the movies, it makes a change in their fantasy life that I think is really troublesome to them. I think it's really scary to them.
But as much as we need to protect boys from the worst of media violence, we must be careful not to stifle their natural fantasy life. Sure enough, when Seth goes to write another story, it's clear that the no dying rule causes him problems.
It was another horse.
It was another horse.
But it got fainted.
The horse got fainted? How come it got fainted? I've never seen him hesitate like that. Usually he comes, sits down at the table, he's got his story, he tells it, and it feels great to him, you can tell. And this time he couldn't figure out what to say. Usually you just sit down and you tell your story, and this seems like much harder today to tell your story than usual. Is that because you wanted to say it got killed, but the girls didn't like it the other day?
No. I don't know why.
You don't know why? Okay. It's very confusing to little boys growing up now, because on one hand, all around them, they see violence on the news, in the movies, on video games. And at the same time, they're getting the message that the fantasies that boys seem to have always had are bad. Here's another problem that came up.
So Jane decides to reopen the discussion about violence in stories.
Oh, you should make a rule that nice guys can't get killed.
You should make a rule. Wait, would you say, wait a minute, would you finish chewing?
Nice guys can't get killed.
Okay.
I don't like when people who are good get killed or animals get killed, because they're good. If they kill people, because people are made of God and God's good.
What about bad guys?
I don't mind them getting killed.
And what about bad guys getting killed?
I don't mind that. I don't mind the bad guys getting killed because they're bad.
Now, is there anybody who has a problem with acting out all the stories with only the bad guys dying and no good guys dying? Is there anybody who has a problem with that?
Even Seth seems to be okay with the new rule.
You're all okay with that? Great. All right, then we solved the problem that we were having for such a long time. I think the danger is giving the boys who are having those thoughts the idea that it says something bad about them as people.
This, for me, is the crux of the issue. Our schools have to make the distinction between actual violence, which must be discouraged, and fantasy violence, which should be accommodated. Otherwise, we risk giving boys one more reason to believe that school's not a place for them.
I like school. Some stuff are pretty fun to do. Some stuff are somewhat hard. It's kind of hard and it's boring. It's like hard to concentrate. I'd probably think it's easier for girls. It might be easier for girls because sometimes the teachers favor girls.
Draw out the triangles and show me your work.
Most of the teachers are girls, and some teachers don't like boys because they think they're like mean and nasty. And people say like boys are like bad and girls are like so nice.
You know, it's tough being a boy in school. By ages 10 and 11, girls perform equally well as boys in math and science, and much better in reading and writing. Boys are still less emotionally mature, more physically active, and more impulsive.
Andrew?
Yes?
That's not working.
I know.
That leads many boys to conclude that school is a place where the deck is stacked against them.
All right. I'll come back.
But, as we shall see, an understanding teacher can help change that attitude.
Kevin is a very charming boy.
Absolutely. Maybe. I'll think about it tonight, I said.
Okay. When I got a haircut one day, the next day, boy, Mr. O'Terry, you look good today. He's funny, he's energetic. I think he will be mayor of Melrose someday.
Melrose is a middle-class, mostly white community outside Boston. At the Lincoln School, Mr. O'Terry's 5th grade class has 14 boys and 5 girls. Nationally, boys account for 70% of the D's and F's given out at school.
Morgan.
It's half of a rectangle.
Why the difference? Well, what's school all about? School's mostly about sitting down and listening to an adult talk.
Our formula is 1/2 times the base.
For boys like Kevin, that can be very hard to do.
6, because 6 is the base, times 5 the height.
Kevin and I have had challenging days.
Base is 6, height is 5, 1/2 times.
He does have a hard time focusing.
Now, what's our formula for area of a triangle again, Kevin?
5 and 6.
What's the formula? How do we figure it out?
And when he does get distracted, it definitely takes away from what he has to get done.
Hold on.
Last year, Kevin's distractibility caused his grades to fall. he got mostly C's, and he sometimes disrupted class.
Kevin? 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 Homework. Take out your homework. Max? Kevin is a handful.
What? They're videotaping me drink!
Kevin may push things to an extreme, but his energetic behavior is typical for boys his age. So it's no surprise what boys say they like most about school.
Gym. Recess. I like lunch. Snack. That's pretty much it.
30 years ago, elementary schools offered recess twice a day. Boys got a chance to work off their physical energy. But there's only one recess at Kevin's school to make more time for classes. Some schools are even eliminating recess altogether. I believe that's a real mistake. Boys in particular need more recess, not less, to become more effective students.
Adam, you haven't read yet? Okay, hold on. I'll get to you. What's your question, Jess?
All too often, this behavior gets labeled as a disorder. Now, there's no denying that some boys do have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. In fact, they're nearly 3 times more likely than girls to have ADHD. But when almost 85% of the world's stimulant medication gets prescribed to American boys, we have to ask the question, are we medicating boys because they're sick or because they're boys?
I have mixed feelings on it. As an educator, I've seen it work wonders with kids. You can see with some kids when they're not on the medication and when they are on the medication. It's very clear. As a parent, I have a different feeling about it. I don't know if I'd want my son or daughter having to take a pill every day.
What's up, Kevin?
Hey, Jaden.
I think a lot of people in general, don't get boys. I mean, I think they're judged right off the bat from just being a boy, especially when they're young. Just to jump the gun and say, oh, well, they're not really listening. They probably need medicine. That's really not the case.
Should a boy like Kevin be medicated? In a lot of schools, he probably would be. But Kevin's parents and Mr. O'Terry are trying to make school into a place where Kevin can succeed without drugs.
5 minus 4?
I smell popcorn.
5 minus 4?
1 and 1/4.
Okay, so 1 and 1/4. Now, you have which is bigger? You have something that's bigger.
Helping Kevin is a lot of work. Every Tuesday after school, Mr. O'Terry, on his own time, provides special tutoring for Kevin and other boys.
Well, that's only the first one.
It's all right.
It was hard.
You don't have to rush through this, Kevin.
This is the first year he's had a male teacher, which I think worked out great. Kevin loves his teacher. He can relate to all these boys in the class.
This is the steps we need to take, slowly.
Today, fewer than 1 in 9 elementary school teachers in the U.S. is a man.
Now bring down the...
Attracting more male teachers might help improve boys' performance.
Kevin, let me finish talking. Adam, sit. And you stop. And you stop. Kevin, you're smart enough to do that problem. You need to stop, though.
Still, it's not easy for Kevin or Mr. O'Terry. So to keep Kevin engaged, Mr. O'Terry has come up with other creative strategies.
I might see him struggling with something that we're working on in class, and his frustration level will build, and then he'll shut down and I'll lose him for the rest of the afternoon. Or if he's disrupting the other students in class, I'll send him around the school with a note that just says, I'm on a walk. Where are you going?
I gotta go downstairs for a sec.
Why?
Because I gotta just go around the building, because I have to I don't know really why, but I have to walk around the building and then come back up.
Kevin gets sent on these walks a couple of times a week.
But why doesn't everyone else?
Because I'm lucky.
Kevin is lucky. Lucky to have a dedicated teacher like Mr. O'Terry and parents who advocate for him. So far this year, his grades reflect that. They've climbed from C's to B's. But in other communities, it's a much tougher struggle to keep boys engaged in school. In the Bronx, boys' test scores are the lowest in New York City. Partly that's due to pervasive poverty. But another big factor is the culture of the streets, which scorns academic success as unmanly. Bright boys get teased and bullied. By 6th grade, many boys simply give up trying at school.
But the thing I really want to know about.
I talked to a group of academically gifted boys from the inner city who left public schools because of bullying.
Did you feel as safe were you in school before?
No, because there was a lot of fights back there.
There was. Are you a big fighter, Oscar?
Well,
Not really.
no.
I was in the 4th grade and I was sort of little for my age, so I would get picked on a lot. So I used to act real tough so nobody would mess with me, and I used to get in trouble for that.
Did you get in fights?
There would be a lot of bullies, and if they were to pick on you, then there would be nobody there. If it wasn't for your friends.
Were you scared many days in school? And you don't mind admitting it? Well, Reuben, were you scared many days in school?
Yeah, maybe sometimes.
Do I have to wear my sweater, Grandma?
The street culture was beginning to attract Reuben at his local public school.
You got everything you need, your phone, your Metro card.
But luckily, his adoptive grandmother, Dorothy, took drastic action.
You have a good day now. Bye, Ruben. And do well on that test. I'm serious. Okay, see you later.
She enrolled Reuben in 6th grade at a new middle school on Manhattan's Lower East Side. To get there, Reuben must take 2 buses and 2 subways, almost an hour each way. That's a lot of responsibility for a boy who just turned 11. Today's a big day for Reuben. He has to take a midterm history test. Reuben's new school, the George Jackson Academy, is very different from his elementary school. For one thing, it's all boys.
We were doing a discussion yesterday just about caring for one another. And there's a word that the guys were afraid to use in terms of how they felt about each other. Anybody want to guess what that word was? No. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, very good. Good. Afraid to use it. And we probably are afraid to use it about talking about each other too. So what we decided to do was to change our vocabulary. And we put a code word in. And the code word we said, I will be your brother. So to be a brother.
There should be options. We bought into co-education as being the only model. Traditionally, that was not. And then there was a girls' school in here.
Brother Brian Carty is a passionate champion of single-sex schools for economically disadvantaged inner-city boys.
Good high ceilings, plenty of space. So it's conducive to boys. They can get up and they can move.
He believes it's an environment that can turn boys on to learning.
Okay, everybody does a fraction. Oh, I can do the circle. Okay.
How does an intellectual gift become feminized? As schools became a feminine thing. I mean, look at the stats that people talk about. Who's applying to law school? Who's applying to med school? Yeah. You know, the predominant enrollments at Harvard, at Dartmouth, Princeton, Yale, all the big places.
80% of girls in Harlem say they want to be a doctor or a lawyer. 80% of boys in Harlem say they want to be an NBA star. Yeah. It's that dramatic.
It's that dramatic.
Brother Brian wants to change that statistic. To do that, he first had to provide bright boys like Reuben with something missing from their old schools: safety.
What was the biggest change coming to a boys' school? Shout.
Here, you won't have the constant worry that something, like, you might get, like, you know, beat up or something like that.
Over here, everybody's like really nice to you and stuff, and they respect you. In my old school, they were like really mean to everybody else.
Edwin, how'd your life change?
My life changed when I came to George Jackson Academy. because I didn't have to act tough all the time. There's no bullies over here.
There are no bullies here. They don't permit it.
Come on, quick, guys, quick. No, books, shelf. You got tests to take, fellas.
After safety, the next thing was to set high academic standards, as in Ruben's history class, where he's about to take his test.
If you want to, you can write on Athens and write on Sparta, and then make 2 short essays. So you either compare or contrast Athenian government.
At first, Ruben was intimidated by the classes. He wasn't used to working hard. In his old school, he'd been able to get high grades without much effort. And he missed his friends.
It was kind of hard for me to adjust in the school because, it was harder work and, I couldn't blend in because, I was kind of nervous because I ain't know nobody.
So Ruben stopped doing homework and he stopped studying for tests.
And then one time he said, well, you can just take me out of there. He said, maybe if I keep doing this, they'll kick me out.
Do you think he was trying to get kicked out?
I think he were. Ruben literally wanted to get kicked out of that school.
Really?
Yes.
The result? Something Ruben had never seen before. An F on his first semester report card.
I felt really bad. I thought, I'm a failure and all that.
He cried. Grandma, but I never get an F. I never fail anything. When he saw that F on the paper, it turned him around.
He very tearfully and apologetically said, I get it. I'm sorry. I want to do better.
It's like vice versa. It's like doing it backwards, like quotations.
Ruben has kept his word. He's been working harder, his grades have improved, and he's making friends.
What? No. What? That was water.
He has this wonderful personality that just draws you to him.
Ruben!
He's bright, he's articulate, he's a charmer. He's a really easy guy to just really get to love.
But it's not only the school's high academic standards and safety that benefit boys like Ruben. So does the absence of girls.
When there are females around, there's a pressure to act a certain way, dress a certain way, carry yourself in a certain way to attract attention or to be part of the in crowd. But when you're at an all-boys school, it allows you to really find who you are without some of the outside pressures.
In co-ed middle schools, boys and girls enforce rigorous gender roles. Certain activities and interests are considered girls only or boys only. But it's different at schools like George Jackson. Here, Ruben and his friends can take what's typically a girls' game and transform it into a competitive boys' game.
There needs to be establishing of, I'm going to call it an appropriate male culture, where there are a range of possibilities and not just one.
The teachers even use boys' love of physical play as an opportunity for education. During this recess, they're playing the Trojan War.
The 6th graders are the ones playing the Trojan War because they're an ancient civ. This to me is like, I actually have gotten through to my students if they're willing to play the Trojan War on their free time.
6th grade boys may be smart enough to reenact an ancient war, but they're not yet mature enough to do it safely.
Drop the weapons, okay? You can still have your sword, you can still have your spear, okay? But we have to be careful of the small children running around because without meaning to, we endanger them. You feel me?
Yes.
Okay. And go defend Troy!
I got a prisoner!
School's over, and Ruben begins his long journey home. He tells me he did well on the history test.
Ruben have changed so much when I take him out now. It ain't the same, little Ruben. Right now, the change is I'm doing well. I want to go to a good school. I'm going to college. That's in his mind right now. It teach them how to be men. And only a man can teach a boy that.
Soon, Ruben will start to become a man in the biological sense as he enters puberty. And puberty can raise some of the most difficult issues in a boy's life. Boys, on average, begin puberty around age 12, a year later than girls. Under the influence of testosterone, they grow taller, add muscle, bone, and facial and body hair. Their voices deepen, their skin erupts, and their sexuality blooms. And there are enormous emotional changes as well. All children, but boys in particular, begin to shift loyalty from family to friends. And boys now enforce on each other a narrow idea of what is masculine, sometimes harshly.
All about skills!
I call this the culture of cruelty. It's toughest on boys who are different.
It's 7:21, and I am sitting here. I'm very bored. 7:26. It's basically what my life is like. I'm Mike Nevin. I'm 13 years old. I play the drums. I'm not very into sports. I watch TV. I know I'm a little overweight. Yes. When I say a little overweight, I mean a lot. It's the living room.
Researchers tell us that one of the main reasons kids get teased is their weight. Mike's been heavy since 3rd grade.
There's my parents' room, my brother's room, bathroom, my room. Let me just hit the lights on.
But Mike's weight isn't the only reason he's been teased.
You said that you were not a regular guy, like regular guys.
I don't consider myself one. Here is plenty of t-shirts, most of these collected from concerts. I got the Misfits, At the Drive-In, Kill Switch Engage, Terror.
What is a regular guy and what's a not regular guy?
A regular guy in my school would be one of those popular kids, plays sports, friends with all the popular girls, usually would play like baseball or football, something like that.
Mike tried playing baseball, in part to please his father.
I loved playing baseball. Baseball was my thing growing up.
He was really into me playing sports, and I liked it at the time, but I started to move farther and farther away from sports.
It became clear that that's not where he wanted to be.
This Slayer shirt of mine, one for my favorite band, Lamb of God. Most kids, when I dyed my hair black, they were all like, "Oh, you're such a goth, you dye your hair black and only wear black clothes." But I dyed my hair black because I thought it would look good on me, and I don't think it looks that bad. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name.
Are you strange, Mike?
I'm definitely strange.
One of the things that makes Mike strange is his love of heavy metal music.
First, we were originally called OHD, which stood for Obsolete Human Disorder. Me and the bassist, we were talking, and he said, "Mike, I have a good name for the band, Dystopia, an imaginary land of immense evil." And I thought, it sounds cool.
I had some reservations. Then I was a little nervous about him, the language, the intensity of the feelings that are expressed in metal music. I thought he was a little young for that. I was torn because he was so into the music and so passionate
she finally gave in. She accepted the fact that her son is a metalhead.
He could be a good golfer. I told him he has to learn to play golf because, you know, a lot of rock and rollers play golf too.
The band's been together only a few months, but they've decided to risk playing their first public concert at a local teen center. It's just 4 weeks away.
Yeah, but the first half is the first half.
If they play poorly, they could face more ridicule.
Are you aware of paying a price for not going the mainstream boy way?
Yeah.
Well, what's the price you pay?
Getting called names, basically.
What names have you been called?
Wow.
The top 5.
Goth, fag, loser, punk. I get called fat a lot.
And that's all your life in elementary school?
Yeah. I was in 3rd grade, 4th grade.
Mike took me to his old elementary school where he was bullied.
It was actually right up there.
After months of being the victim, Mike did what many victims do. He found another kid to pick on.
We would play kickball when he would miss the ball. I would be like, loser, or I can't believe you missed the ball, things like that. Just mean things, and sometimes we would get him to the point where he'd cry and yell and scream and hit me and stuff. And that's exactly what I was trying to do. I was trying to provoke him to do something like that. It would make me feel better, and it would get me more points with the popular kids.
Mike later apologized to the kid and stopped teasing him. But bullying is a national problem. Nearly 1 out of 4 boys is bullied in school, often physically. Mike's lucky. He wasn't beaten up. But words can be as painful as blows.
Do you think there is such a thing as a boy who isn't hurt by that kind of stuff?
Well, on the outside, yeah. But on the inside, no. Because some boy can call another boy a fag or something like that, and they can just be like, hey, just laugh about it. But then that day, if they get home and like they don't have any friends over, or brother isn't there, or sister isn't there, things like that, they could just go up to their room and cry because it really hurts on the inside. Not a lot of people ever say that it hurts, but it really does hurt.
Parents always ask me, how do I protect my son from this culture of cruelty? And I have to tell them the sad truth. You can't. Every boy has to face the status hierarchy and find an identity which works for him. At school, part of Mike's identity is belonging to the band.
From the beginning, including piano. Ready?
It's hard to keep a simple march beat when you've got rock and roll kicking inside your head.
Stop. Stop.
It's 2 weeks before the concert. There's still a lot of work to do. The original bass player had to drop out, so they have to break in a new guy.
I dropped my stick. I need a break.
And here's the wonderful Mrs. Nevin.
Every child needs a friend or friends. The number's not so important to help him survive the culture of cruelty,
Here's a picture of Mike when he made his first communion.
especially if he's outside the mainstream. A child that has no friends at all is a child I worry about. And teenage boys still need the support of their parents. Now, this may come as a shock to parents of seemingly uncommunicative teenage sons, but it's vital that parents find ways to stay connected to them.
There you go.
Mike's lucky. His father, Joe, has found common ground with him in music.
We go to a lot of concerts too, and we have a lot of fun doing that. We're very excited about our annual pilgrimage to Ozfest.
And Warped Tour.
And Warped Tour. But Ozfest is going to be fun this year.
Ozfest is going to be very fun.
I always wanted to play when I was a kid. I'd get the Sears catalog, I'd go right to the musical instruments. I always wanted to be a rock star.
Oh, guys, I'm here.
It's the big night at the teen center.
All right, I guess we're going to go on for a couple minutes.
Tonight it's a concert. It's my band Dystopia. It's a landmark in the Mike Nevin history of music. It's the first real concert. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Mike's bravado masks how truly nervous he is. It's a scary event. The audience is made up of mostly high school students. Finally, it's showtime.
Hello. We're Dystopia from Melrose and Malden. We're gonna play a couple songs. Okay, everybody shut up and listen.
This is the first of 5 original songs they'll play. What's a heavy metal concert without a drum solo? He's found his audience. Mike's weight, his clothes, and the color of his hair no longer matter. What matters is that they think he plays the drums very well.
Music is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I don't think I'd be able to live without music.
All boys want to earn the respect of their peers. To do that, they have to demonstrate mastery of some skill that other boys appreciate. Playing sports, working on cars, getting a well-paying job, or playing in a rock and roll band.
This morning I was called fat and a goth, but you know, if somebody was here that had made fun of me in the past, if they were here tonight, I don't think they would make fun of me.
Over the last hour, we've explored some myths about boys' emotional lives and high physical energy. And we've looked at new ways of working with boys. In the next hour, we'll meet boys in high school as they struggle to make the tough transition into manhood. For many boys, especially those without a father, this can be the hardest and most dangerous part of their journey.
Who's the most important man in your life?
Me.
In America's inner cities, teenage boys must daily walk a gauntlet of violence, crime, and drugs.
Let me see that shit. Let me see that shit. Can you let that nigga pass through like that?
Here in Chelsea, Massachusetts, dropout rates and violent crime are almost 3 times higher than the state average.
Niggas is crazy out here.
Poverty puts an added stress on families here. Many of these kids have a parent caught up in addiction, or in jail, or no parents at all. Without strong parental protection, teenagers can become vulnerable to the power of street gangs.
Bloods, Crips,
Raising Cain, MS, 18.
TRG, Outlaw. Last time they were shooting and a little kid got dead.
My name's Sergeant James Atkins. I'm a supervisor at Chelsea Police Gang Unit. There's a lot of robberies and assaults that we deal with on a daily basis, and the most recently being a 14-year-old kid who got shot while he was standing at the bus stop.
Oh man, I'll take you both. I'll take you both.
In Chelsea, about 7 gangs rule the streets, terrorizing teenage boys in particular. Their lives become filled with fear and anxiety. But they keep it a shameful secret because they want to appear strong.
This gang issue, to me, is one of the real tragedies in America.
I met with Jeffrey Canada, one of America's leading activists on children and violence. His shattering autobiography, Fist Stick Knife Gun, recounts his own terrified childhood, spent running from the gangs of the South Bronx.
This is the deal. Teenagers, 15 and 16 and 17, have figured out that you can, by hurting a small number of kids, control a huge number of kids. And fear will make kids join and then hurt other kids, that then perpetuates this same sort of recruiting strategy. Boys are so terrified that they are willing to almost do anything to avoid being beaten and humiliated. And that is happening in America all the time. And part of the reason it's so powerful is boys don't come in and talk to us about that level of fear and humiliation. There is no adult that they know to go to.
Stand him, go get him, go get him.
Our boys need our help. They need protection from a dangerous, violent street culture. They need nurturing from caring, responsible adults. In Chelsea, one place they can come is the Boys and Girls Club.
We always worry about kids who are on the fence and think about ways as a staff to try to connect with them and talk about how they're doing. And it's a certain staff.
Sam Healy is the chief social worker here. A big part of his job is teaching these boys how to talk about their feelings instead of lashing out.
Now, boys don't traditionally sit down and crack open for adults. Not boys of this age.
No, you gotta use sports, you know. You gotta use a game of chess. You gotta take them to a basketball game. You know, you can get the highs and lows within a basketball game and help kids work on managing the highs and lows.
Healy knows that his best opportunities for teaching come with younger boys.
So you're getting your little therapeutic moments here and there and in a basketball game.
Yeah. You know, you get to use that moment to teach the skills to manage their frustration, how to deal with the frustration.
He hit me by accident. I know it was by accident.
Well, I gotta tell you, you know what, Screen? A couple months ago, you would have gone after him, right? You didn't go after him, right? Good job.
It's a hell of a job, Sam.
But look at this. I mean, I get to play with kids all day. I mean, I get to play basketball. I get to play chess. I get to work with joyous kids. You know, to me, it's not even a job. It's I love my work. You know, I love my work.
Yeah, it shows.
All boys try to behave like men. To shape themselves into adults, they need raw material in the form of strong adult male role models. But in places like Chelsea, that's tough. More than a third of the households here are fatherless. When boys don't get the right material to work with, they'll grab whatever they can find. I asked a group of boys at the club who their main male role model was.
What difference does it make?
I want to go around. Who's the most important man in your life? Austin? You don't have a dad around who's... No. So he's not a factor in your life. Who's the man in your life who models respect for you?
My coach.
Your coach?
Yeah, my lacrosse coach.
Tell me about him.
He always tells me things to do like the right way instead of the wrong way. And he's good influence.
How long has he been in your life?
6-7 years.
Wow. Is there a man in your life who teaches you respect? Lewis.
My mom.
Wait, man.
Your mom's the center of your life.
Yeah.
And you don't have a man in your life who's taught you.
I don't know my dad, and I haven't known him for that long.
How has that hurt your life?
Because my mom always has to take care of us, and my dad is never around. Only when he needs something.
Does it mean your mom's the more responsible parent?
Yeah.
She has to earn the money to support you? Would you tease another boy about if he'd actually lost a parent?
No, that's wrong.
That's wrong?
Yeah.
But boys tease each other, they insult each other's mothers.
Hell yeah. People, your mom was so fat she had to stand in her pants in the driveway. People, your mom's so fat she puts lipstick on with a paint roller.
Now, why do boys do that? Why do boys go after each other's mothers?
And we all know everybody has a mom, and we don't know if everybody has a dad, so it's easier. We don't know if everybody has a mom, actually, idiot.
Look around. Does everybody here have a mom?
No.
I do. I do.
And looking around, do you know how many guys here have a dad?
I have a dad.
I ain't got one.
What do you make of it that men don't stay with their family so much?
Mom kicks them out the houses.
The moms kick the dads out.
Yeah.
And Carrington, what do they kick them out for?
Getting drunk and doing stupid stuff outside.
Anthony, do you yearn to have a dad?
Sometimes I think about it, you know, before, like, when I was younger, I would think about it then, you know, like, I would see, like, my friends, you know, oh, they're going to, like, pizza shop or something like that, you know. That used to, like, bother me a lot, but I ain't grown over it.
You got over it finally? You just kind of talked yourself out of it?
Yeah.
Hugo, who's the most important man in your life?
Me.
You're how old?
16. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out.
No, but
You only find this in the projects.
You know right?
Project Productions, pop.
We asked Hugo if he'd be willing to take one of our video cameras and film a bit of his life story for us.
This nigga's crazy, about to jump off.
Here's a night out on the streets. Hugo's behind the camera, interviewing his friends.
I got it! What do you gotta say to the fans back home?
Nigga, y'all.
You crazy bastard.
I'm in the class by myself, you niggas trash. We did it in the past, but now you niggas ass.
Holla, nigga. It's that motherfucking non-trizzy bang.
Really, do Willie, please. Go, go, go. Where you gonna swim then?
Their swaggering and swearing is designed to shock and intimidate. But it's really just 16-year-old boys doing their thing, getting together to beat their chests.
I do every fucking drug in a fucking book. If you don't like it, nigga, hop the off my motherfucking bitch.
Ooh, holla, nigga.
There's a name for this fierce pose, the mask of masculinity.
B-boy right here, you know, catching Vicks, nigga, doing bad shit at the age of 14. You know what I'm saying?
The important thing to remember is that it's only a mask.
So much of what they learn to do is posture, right? You identify with the aggressor. So you try and figure out, how do the toughest kids look? Let me look like that. How do the toughest kids act? Let me act like that.
Do you think America's scared of its boys?
I think America's terrified of these boys. They got all the posturing and they got all the stuff and they're sitting there looking. And you know, these are just scared boys trying to tell the world, don't mess with me.
This mask of masculinity is a distorted grab at manhood. To be like the father that all boys hunger for. What's behind the mask? Almost always, it's sadness. For Hugo, home life is very different from his life on the street.
This is my home. Been here 16 years. Home is where the heart is.
Hugo never knew his father. His mother, a gang member, abandoned him as an infant.
Birth mother left me when I was like 2 days old. I feel sorry for her. Because, you know, she missed out on me growing up with her. She missed all the good times and all the bad times. She can't get that back. You know. There's nothing she can do to repay me back for all the years she missed.
She didn't want him. She told me to take care of him.
Hugo is being raised by his grandmother, whom he calls Mom. And they both care for Hugo's young nieces, abandoned by his stepsister. As the older male in their life, Hugo is the only father they know.
She do that for me. I need to do that for me. Thank you.
But he's never had a father to learn from.
Go to bed.
I don't want this candy.
Go to bed. Go to bed, Maria.
I don't want this candy.
Oh well.
Let's go get Maddie.
Oh well.
He isn't able to appreciate a small child's fear of fire.
Goes pain in the ass.
But he's doing the best he can.
Oscar's about to fight. Let me see the other contender. Let me see the other contender.
Hugo tells me that boys in his neighborhood organize fights all the time.
We already got a fight in here.
Tonight, he's taping one such fight in a playground near his building.
Yeah, DJ.
It's a match between two 9-year-olds, orchestrated by older boys. The big boys coach the contenders, first holding them back, goading them, and riling them up.
I'm not gonna let you go, damn! Like beats!
Go in the middle. Go to it, right there, right there. Go, round number 3.
Finally, they're set upon each other.
Just swing, hurry up!
Oh! It's nothing, don't stop! This is not again, it's nothing!
1, 2, 3.
Watch him, let him watch him! He's giving his ass! He made a crash!
I'll bet that almost every man can remember a frightening scene like this from his childhood. Only this fight is especially urgent and violent.
1, fight now! Knocked out! Knocked out!
Knocked him out!
I got it!
Jeffrey Canada remembers it vividly as survival training.
You were humiliated and ridiculed. They would hit you as hard as they could with the express purpose of making you cry, to expose the hidden weakness, which we all were at that point desperate to try and hide from.
Who do you think won the fight? What were the scorecards? What were the scorecards?
And I would sit there and think, there's something wrong with this picture. I mean, this hurts. But later I understood it was their job to prepare us for what we were going to face when we left our block. Because when you left your block, the kids had no mercy on you.
I'm just waking up. Mom's yelling at me. I'm exhausted. I went home like around 3 o'clock last night.
Getting up in the morning, that's his bad, I don't know how to say that, but
Lazy.
He's lazy, yeah.
In spite of his late night, Hugo still gets his nieces ready, as he does every morning.
I learned things about how raising kids, how you gotta be like nice, like gentle with them and everything. It takes time and patience to raise kids.
And it's actually the 230 Central Ave.
Since there is no car, the family commutes every day by taxi. First, they'll drop off Hugo's grandmother at her work. Then the taxi will take Hugo and his nieces to their daycare. The trip makes Hugo chronically late for school.
I want to go to college because I want to do something with my life. I don't want to be like another low life with no life, asking for quarters on the corner. Hopefully graduate from college with a basketball scholarship. That's how I want to go. And go to law school so I can become a lawyer because I love to argue and I always win. So I think I'll be good at that.
To make his dreams come true, Hugo's going to have to overcome odds that are heavily stacked against him. And he's carrying a tremendous amount of pain and loss. Hugo is raising himself in a vacuum. It's just not right to ask a boy to be a man before he's ready, without training, with no support.
Go.
And the fact is, we're raising a generation of Hugos. 40% of American boys live in homes without a biological father. America, in fact, leads the industrialized world in fatherlessness. For Hugo and many other teenagers, that makes their local Boys and Girls Club an even more important place. But even here, the problems of the streets have a way of intruding. When I visit the club one morning, something is clearly up. There was a sleepover last night. Apparently, some of the boys broke into the director's office and stole over $1,000 worth of donated football tickets. Sam and Josh, the club's director, quickly figure out which kids did it. 2 of them have run off, but the third has stayed behind. It's Renato, 16 years old and a leader in the club.
When your name was brought up, it's like, oh, God, you know, he was doing really well.
When first confronted, he denies everything.
I just want the truth.
Later, he admits being in the room during the incident, but claims he didn't steal any tickets.
When I was in the office, I was like, oh, I think we should leave. But I don't know. Then he just wanted to stay, so we just left after a while. But I just followed them.
Now, 2 of those guys can't come back here at all, and...
Josh and Sam have given up on the other 2 boys. But Renato is a different story.
So we not only care for you, but we care about the rest of the kids in the club, you know, and like how you're going to be and how that affects the whole community.
They know that Renato needs a firm consequence for his action, but they also worry about him. So far, he's managed to stay clear of gangs, but some of his friends are ganged up and pressuring him to join.
Renato's a good kid, but now that he's getting a little older, we're definitely very concerned about losing him to the neighborhood, the more negative influences in the neighborhood.
Negative influences like Renato's best friend, Bryant. He was kicked out of the Boys and Girls Club 6 months ago. Since then, he's been convicted of a gang-related assault and is serving a 2-month sentence.
But on the streets, it's different, man. You gotta be like an animal. Somebody say something stupid, boom, you just gotta hit them up.
Bryant has given himself over to the gang version of manhood. Josh and Sam fear that if they suspend Renato, he'll become more vulnerable to the influence of friends like Bryant.
You know, and so our concern is like, well, who's he gonna be? Because you have so much talent, you have so much to give, and so you can be like that negative leader or a positive leader. It's your choice.
Reluctantly, they reach a decision. They're suspending Renato for 2 months. When I catch up with Renato on the bench outside, he's ready to write off the club altogether.
Is this going to change your relationship with the Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah, I think I ain't gonna come no more.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that's it for you, getting accused of something?
Yeah, if they handled it a different way, it would have been different. But they just hopped on us, like, yeah, you did it. What the hell? I can't do that, I just hopped on us. That's stupid.
Do you feel insulted? You also feel a little scared?
Nope. Why should I be scared if I know how to do it?
A boy will almost always lie when first confronted with an unpleasant truth.
You've got an idea.
Boys, more than girls, are deeply sensitive to being shamed. And I believe Renato is trying to avoid that emotion at all costs. Sullen silence is another way boys protect themselves.
You know, I tell parents, you know, after boys get about 12, 13, everything is no, yes. They don't talk to you anymore, right? And so you're really cut out of their world. And as a parent, you're not afraid of that kid. But when you don't know who that kid is, and you're just sitting there, you have it, no, I don't have it. And the kid is turned away. I mean, people are afraid to then approach that boy and say, excuse me, then please look at me when I talk to you. I'm really trying to help you. And they won't do that. They won't make that approach. And if you do that, you can reconnect with a lot of these kids.
To try and open a connection with Renato, I ask him to guide me on a tour of his neighborhood.
I'm gonna show you to my street. My street's the worst in Chelsea.
Your street's the worst in Chelsea? What makes it the worst?
Cause that's where the gang's at, the crack, and all that.
All right, well, take me there.
It looks nice, right?
Yes, it does look nice.
Yeah, in the summertime, horrible. Nighttime, bad. See the people right here?
Yeah?
Crackheads.
This just looks like a bus stop to me.
Yeah, it is. What's your crackhead, you see? Crackheads all over the place.
As Renato guides me past one danger spot after another, I realize he's beginning to open up. He's taking me on a tour of his fears.
Would you walk here?
No.
On your own?
No.
Not under any circumstances?
No.
What would you be afraid of?
Getting jumped. Little kid got killed here.
A little kid got killed?
Yeah.
Renato's world is a frightening place, indeed. It makes perfect sense to me that a boy would want to seek whatever kind of safety he could, even the illusory protection of a gang. Maybe that's what led his friend Brian to join a gang.
Renato, tell me about Brian. I mean, why is he in detention?
Fighting, gangbanging. Took a left in this corner.
Oh, so
A few days later, I'm able to pay Brian a visit. He describes his present circumstances, caught up in violence and the penal system, as if they were a conscious career choice.
Everybody got their own lifestyle. That's what I do, you know. Some people like being a chef, you know what I'm saying? They cook. Not me, you know, I like to bang.
As I listen to Brian, I can't help but feel that he's lost. He's crossed over a line, and he isn't looking back.
I got street credibility, you know what I'm saying? Everybody knows me. Ain't nobody can pull my cars. Ain't no cars you can pull on me. I got a good life. I like my life. Ain't nothing wrong with being like me.
Brian is selling an image of man as a gangster, an image that he was sold. It is, of course, a phony bill of goods. And boys like Renato are his potential customers. If we want to save them, we need to offer a better model of manhood than the one Brian's pushing.
We've got to get men as role models in these boys' lives, because I think it's critical that boys see men doing the kinds of things we want those boys to do for their own children. Wiping their noses, holding their hands, taking them across the street, helping them with their homework. All of that stuff that is against sort of the modern mythology of maleness.
He's cool and a caretaker.
That's right. If I get someone from down the block who comes here, who's in college, who's working, who is not afraid, able to walk around the community, is able to keep some status, and still comes to help other boys in a way that shows caring and compassion, I think that's the way we're going to get boys to start learning what it really means to be a man.
Redefining what manhood is.
That's right.
The day after his suspension ends, Renato's back at the club, ready to resume his role as a regular.
You gonna go?
Sam and Josh are thrilled to see him, and remain cautiously optimistic about his chances. Still, the pull of gang culture is insidious. In an unguarded moment, Renato flashes a gang sign to our cameraman. His relationship with that world is still unresolved. But along with the Renatos and Bryans, there are also boys here whose lives are taking a hopeful turn, in spite of very troubled beginnings. PJ has had a history of violent, angry outbursts.
When I first met PJ at 8 years old, he was an explosive kid who was just difficult to manage. Maybe it's chemical or maybe it's learned, I don't know, but he was a restraint waiting to happen.
I asked PJ if he'd be willing to go for a walk.
I'd like to talk, if that's all right.
All right.
You had some problems in school?
Yes, I did. And when I was younger, I would get mad very easily.
Whatever it was,
I would get mad, yeah.
For a 13-year-old, PJ is surprisingly articulate about his history.
They would call 3-4 janitors or security guards, and they'd restrain me.
You're in second grade and it's taking 3 janitors to restrain you?
Because I would kick and I would punch and I'd snap at them to bite them.
Were you ever suspended?
I practically set the record for the most suspensions in the Hook School.
You did?
Yes.
PJ's reputation for aggression tends to drive away potential friends.
Do you think there's some kids who are still a little scared of you?
I don't know if they're scared, but I would say kids that know me from the past, they'll be nice to me, but it's not out of that they want to be friends with me, that they just don't want to have trouble with me.
You're a little lonely, aren't you, PJ?
Yeah.
Boys like PJ are at great risk. If their behavioral problems lead to failure at school and rejection by peers, they can get trapped in a vicious cycle of depression, rage, and isolation.
See, it's this sort of reinforcing thing. They act a certain way, the adults pull back. The adults see them acting that way, they pull back. And then after a while, both people think there's a gulf so big there that you can't breach it. And so these kids live in isolated fear and anxiety with no one really to talk to.
Pete, time to get up.
There are some ways to break the cycle. It's hard work, but parents can do it
PJ,
if they stay actively engaged with their sons.
6:30, it's not early.
PJ told me that his parents divorced when he was 1 year old.
Do you know what you're wearing today?
He now lives with his mother, Gilda, and his half-brother and sister.
You gotta hurry up, don't take forever.
Gilda holds down a full-time job as a paralegal.
Don't look at my sock.
Every morning, she has her hands full trying to get everyone out the door on time.
It's picture day school, yes, baby.
Her concerns about PJ started when he entered preschool.
His anger was out of control. He would really express feelings of especially hurting himself, and that worried me. I mean, I didn't sleep, you know, and it was really, really a tough time.
Gilda pushed hard to get PJ professional attention. He began meeting with a team of teachers and counselors for a series of evaluations. Their diagnosis? ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder.
Did you finish your homework yesterday?
Yeah.
That's weird, because I could swear I didn't see you doing homework.
Well,
Peter, did you take your pill?
when I turned 8 or 9, they gave me prescriptions for like Adderall.
Yeah.
That I'm taking now.
You're on Adderall?
Yeah.
Peter started taking pills, and within 2 weeks, I saw the difference.
I mean, when I was in 2nd grade, I was getting like F's on all my report cards. Once I started using the medication, I was getting B's and C's. And I've gotten like honor rolls over the years. It would like help me concentrate better, and I would be able to focus like on things that would normally get me angry. I'll be able to focus on like what's happening.
PJ's turnaround has been remarkable. And medication has certainly played a role, but so did counseling. And his deeply involved mother, who refused to give up on her son.
I love you. Love you too.
And there's been another constant loving presence in PJ's life.
Yeah.
Every other weekend, PJ stays at his father's apartment.
So I got the strawberry ones you like. Yeah. Yeah, I'll put some in a cup for you.
Pedro Sr. remained close by the family after the divorce, and he also remained deeply committed to having a real relationship with his son.
I, being from a divorced home, was, somewhat neglected by my father and whatnot, in the sense that I didn't see him. What I really wanted from my dad was his love and his affection and his companionship.
Your feet are huge. It looks like you're gonna be at least a 12 or more.
Well, as long as they don't keep calling me clown feet, I'm alright.
Get out of here. They call you clown feet?
Yeah, my coaches.
So that's why I go out of my way to make sure that I'm there for him, even if I'm not be able to give him riches because I'm not a rich man.
When I was at your age, everybody used to tell me I had Bobo shoes. Because Bobo was the famous clown back then. That's funny.
So I give him my love, I give him my attention, I give him my time, and I give him my friendship.
Pedro Sr. is giving his son a precious gift. a model of manhood that includes the open expression of affection. This is something all boys need and what all fathers can give. Angry, aggressive boys like PJ are too often just labeled as problems and left to slip through the cracks. PJ was saved simply because people in his life cared enough to pay attention. His parents remained committed, even putting aside their differences to come to his football games.
Even though it's a lot of work for the parents, you know, I work full time, so I get out of work, I run and pick up the kids and, you know, run them back to the practice, but their business is going to pay off, you know.
And that's one thing you want to do in the inner city, so always try to keep them busy, try to keep them from, instead of hanging out in the corners. I know my son is at practice, he's playing football, he's doing positive things.
What more can you ask of your child, you know? So he's a really good boy. Yeah.
We're very proud of him.
PJ's story is, unfortunately, a rare one in the inner city, where poverty, fatherlessness, and crime add stress to the life of teenage boys. In the wealthy suburbs, these kinds of stresses don't enter the lives of teenagers. How many of you guys come from intact families? Non-divorced families? All of you. How many of you feel you've ever been traumatized by seeing some violence?
We live in Sudbury and Lincoln, Massachusetts. I mean, they're two pretty well-developed suburbs of Boston that we grow up like hanging out, having a good time. We don't grow up seeing people getting knifed in like back alleys.
What? Oh, nothing.
But even in the suburbs, adolescence is a risky time, because all 17 and 18-year-old boys are desperately looking for ways to prove that they're men, to adults, and especially to each other.
Being recorded right now.
And even though they may look like men, psychologically they're still boys, and they still need our guidance.
The hell was that?
Do not do anything I wouldn't do.
It is Tuesday morning. Time to get up for school. 6:42. Here I am, not at all awake or prepared to get up this early.
Jimmy's parents gave him this car so he could drive himself to school. He's asked his friend Chris to videotape him on the way.
So James, how old are you?
I am 17 and I will be 18 on May 2nd.
What do you look for in an attractive young lady that you wish to date?
Gotta be easy on the eyes. And as Jan always says, gotta be a good kisser.
And Jan, for the people who don't know who Jan is?
Janice would be my mother.
Shot of the brand new LS School that costs a whopping $72 billion.
Jimmy and his friends are seniors, the year when all the pressure crescendos.
400 Newton force pulling this way. Okay, and I'm going to pass out the quiz.
Lincoln Sudbury has a reputation of being a good school, and everybody wants to do well, and everybody's parents wants them to do well. Especially now with the whole college thing, there's usually tension among families.
So, Mom, how do you feel about the college essay process?
I wish we'd thought of one universal essay that you could have used.
Now, though.
Parents often get frustrated by teenage sons who seem so prepared for manhood one moment and so ill-prepared the next.
The online thing for UConn isn't working.
It's just this ridiculous responsibility that comes out of nowhere, and you're trying to prepare yourself for the rest of your life. Everybody's trying to help you, but you don't know what you want.
You're sure you checked early decision?
Yeah, I'm sure I checked it. What does that even mean?
Of course, we all want to encourage our teenage sons to do their best academically.
And we just took a quiz on both kinetic friction and static friction. And I probably made, I don't know, one little mistake, so I'll probably get a 90.
But getting good grades is not an accurate measure of emotional maturity. Neither is athletic success. But all too often, if a boy is doing well in school and sports, we assume that his inner life is untroubled.
The difference between appearance and reality can be pretty profound. I mean, I think every kid is under a lot of pressure these days. I think it's a tremendously heavy burden that they all bear. I think boys just feel such pressure to be men, to be tough, to be stoic.
Jimmy is not only a good student, he's also captain of the high school football team. They're preparing for the big Thanksgiving Day game against arch rival Newton South.
Thanksgiving's a big day in Massachusetts, traditional rivals, and they're a good team, and we're a good team. Hopefully, if we play a little bit better. It's a culminating experience for the seniors, so we hope they can go out with a win.
Now, these guys certainly look like men, and most of them want to believe they're men.
Are you a man now?
I feel I'm a man now.
Yes. Yes. I consider myself a young man, I guess.
Close, yeah, I'd say.
I don't think so.
Actually, new research confirms what Kobe's saying. Most 18-year-olds are not adults. Their brains aren't fully developed. The frontal lobe, which controls judgment, is still maturing.
When I'm going out at night, I'm like, Mom, I'm going into Sudbury. I'll be home tomorrow morning. And she's like, okay, like, be safe. And I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Who told their parents they were going sledding?
I did. I told my parents we were going to play snow football or something.
We were going to play out in the snow.
That's all I said.
Most people think the leading cause of death among teenage boys is criminal violence. It isn't. It's accidents.
But only a good die young.
Oh my God!
This tape reveals a side of teenagers' lives that most parents don't get to see.
Oh my God! This is nuts! Careful, careful, careful! Oh, David! Great fucking work! 2 inches! Look at where your tire is! Look at where your tire is in relation to the telephone pole!
A little bumper riding incident. Obviously, we won't tell him about stuff like that. I mean, I almost crashed the car, so hopefully they will never find out. Right?
Tell me to stop if my bumper's about to fall off. Yo, is it a neutral? Yes! Woo! Oh, baby!
Yeah, man! Yeah! That was f***ing awesome! Yo, this is easily the best idea we've ever had.
Yes, this behavior is scary and it is reckless. So why do they do it? Because they're looking for ways to test their manhood.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And one other test is sexual.
Some anger from Kara, very sexy anger.
At this age, their bodies are flooded with up to 7 shots of testosterone a day. And what do they see all around them? Seductive images of women in rap videos, television, and internet porn. These messages cause enormous confusion for boys.
How many of you have seen porn on the internet? How many of you seen porn on the internet more than 30 times? Okay.
My parents caught me in 4th grade.
Your parents caught you in 4th grade?
Me and 2 of my friends from private school slept over at my house. And this kid, Jeff, he like brought us to some sites, and we were all sitting there kind of wide-eyed. And then my parents found it on the history of the internet a couple days later and asked me about it. And I denied everything and put all blame on my friends.
You said it was like a Pokemon or something?
Yeah.
How many of you had a meaningful talk with your parents about sexuality?
I've had like the talk, you know, the one like penis goes in the vagina.
No kidding. Yeah, Kobe, tell me about the talk.
Well,
is this with your dad or your mom?
Both.
Yeah?
They ambushed me in my room. They have 2 condoms and they give them to me, and they're like, Kobe, like, if you like need these, use them. Like, don't you have unprotected sex, like safe sex. All that. And then we talked for like 15 minutes. I kind of like sit there, and it was really awkward. We've never really had like a deep conversation about like what it means or like.
It was a couple of years ago. I remember we're just at the dinner table, and he'll like drop a comment that'll be like, you know, you have to be safe, right? And we'll just he'll start laughing like inside his mouth, and like, you have to be safe, right? And then I'm like, yeah, and then all of us just start dying, and just kind of, I don't like it. I get all the real stuff from school, probably.
All the real stuff from school.
If parents can't bring themselves to talk with their sons about sex, it may become hard for boys to judge what's appropriate and what's not. And that can create real problems.
Every Halloween we have this tradition called Dress Up Day. The seniors dress up in elaborate outfits. Boys tend to dress as girls in very skimpy outfits. And girls tend to dress as hookers and prostitutes. I'm running the show, and it's terrifying because I'm both watching the crowd, watching the clock, trying to fit in all the groups, trying to make sure nothing goes over the line.
For Senior Dress Up Day, my friends and I decided to do a reenactment of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, where we had one of our friends who's skinnier than the rest of us be Snow White, and things got blown out of proportion.
I just sort of saw a bunch of movement over there and dancing, and after a while I hit the gong because I had another act to get on and went away for the weekend. It was Friday, thinking, great, we got through another dress-up day, nobody got killed, nobody's going to be angry at me. Got back Sunday night and checked the email. It's just flooded with people who are just outraged at what these kids did, seeing it as a simulated rape or gangbang.
If I was an outsider and I saw it, I would be offended by it.
Yes, it was in poor taste, like they should have thought out their skid better, but it really wasn't offensive.
In past years, like if you had seen the other stuff that people had done, there's been some pretty bad ones, so I just think that they wanted to be remembered.
That's like basically just a simulation of what we see on TV.
So this sort of raged through the school for 2 weeks with people demanding action and other people defending them, and I got a call from a resident saying, I heard there was a gang rape at the school last week.
Were any of you Snow White or the 7 Dwarfs? So there was this sort of assault of Snow White.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say it was supposed to be funny because it was a parody of the original story, and where it's so far from what really happened.
There's always like inappropriate
sexual undercurrent
in the entire day. It's basically an excuse for like girls to dress like sluts and for guys to like dress up like girls or like whatever. Yeah.
Do you feel guys unjustly accused? Like people don't have a sense of humor? And they decide you were the Neanderthal football players. Yeah.
Schools typically handle a situation like this in one of 2 ways. Either they suspend the boys outright, or they say, in effect, well, boys will be boys. Neither of these options alone, I believe, serves the best interests of the boys or the school.
I don't think that we just say, oh, well, it's just boys, that's what they do. But I do think that attitude does prevail, not only here, but in society. And I think that we need to look at that. Because I think that's damaging not only to the whole community, but also to the young men.
During which the boy cried. Karen invited me to talk to the faculty about the psychology of the boys who performed the skit. When I heard about Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, in the moment they were stimulated. They were in the excitement of it. They thought they were in a tradition. And the tradition was, all senior classes get to be gross. Right? It's a damn tradition. It is offensive. I grant you it's offensive. But it's not announcing that these good guys are all future rapists. Play violence is not violence. And we lose credibility with boys when we think it is. So I separate right away things that are enactments. A symbolic enactment that's play is another message. It tells you we are under a certain amount of control, but we want you to know something about us.
What I'd like to ask is when we as educators see these kind of behaviors, how do you think that we should intervene?
You should intervene in a way that gets the boys to reflect. Find out whether they can see it from somebody else's point of view. If we simply condemn boys' behavior when it's shocking and end the discussion there, we risk reinforcing the message that boys get from early on, that their inner lives are scary and shameful. It's far better to use the behavior as the starting point of a conversation about their intentions and feelings. In the end, the school did not punish the boys, because after seeing the reactions of teachers and students, the boys themselves approached the principal.
They came to me with a real sincere apology and a sort of sense of shock that this had offended people. And that's a huge learning experience and a much more valuable one than, you get 6 detentions because you did something that the rules say you shouldn't do. That would have been stupid. They would have been laughing at us. So I just think promoting that kind of dialogue really pays off, though it's painful and hard to measure the results and takes a long time.
John Ritchie is right. Boys will eventually open up to an adult, but you've got to listen closely. When was the last time you cried?
The last time I cried was probably my grandfather's funeral.
Were you very close to him?
Yeah, I liked him a lot, and then he passed away.
Can I ask you a question? You said you liked him a lot.
Like,
you didn't say I love him. I loved him a lot.
I loved him more than...
I know, but I know you did.
Yeah.
I could tell from your face, but you didn't say it.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I misspoke.
No, you didn't misspeak. You were, it was a rule, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
You weren't going to say in front of a whole bunch of guys or in front of me that you loved.
Yeah, I guess you don't really talk about that. Yeah, because for women, love makes you weak. Like, hearts and flowers and stuff are associated with love, and that's not like when we're out on like the football field. Like, it's not about love. It's about like hate and like anger.
Hey, Jimmy, you leaving?
Yeah.
I gotta give you a kiss. Come here. It's your last game. Good luck. Don't get hurt.
I won't.
I actually was crying when I did his laundry last night because I said, this is the last time. He's my first. He'll always be my baby.
This game means more than any other game. I can just feel something's different right now.
It's the morning of the big game, just a few hours before kickoff. For boys on the edge of manhood, this is much more than a game. It's a rite of passage.
Think about it, seniors. The next time you walk in this locker room, it is over. win the game, you're going to walk off the field, you're going to be happy. Newton South wins the game, all hell's going to break loose. Screw their celebration. LS on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yes! Let's go, Blue!
It's an irony of our notion of manhood that only those with impeccable credentials as tough guys can get away with showing their softer side.
They were a very close class. They were very supportive of each other since they were in about 7th grade. So I think all of them realizing this is the last time they're suiting up as warriors, it's going to make a big difference.
I'd like to introduce the senior football players for Lincoln Sudbury as they recognize their mothers. Number 51, Jason Fazio.
As a psychologist, I watch this ceremony and see nothing about athletics. It's about a mother approving her son moving into manhood.
And number 74, Jimmy Lesko.
For so many years, this is how we spent our weekends and our Thanksgiving, going there and watching him. And so it's really, for me, it's the moving on that is really touching.
Lincoln Sudbury football seniors and their mothers.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
The first half is tightly played. Despite LS being favored, the score is tied at halftime.
Be able to walk off the field, seniors, with your head high. That's all I ask. Don't let somebody else make a play. You make a play. You be the team celebrating at the end of the game. LS on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Double tight.
It remains tied into the final minutes.
Shut up. We got to gain 2 yards to make our season, okay? 2 goddamn yards. We're going to run 37 toss.
They don't get the yardage.
He didn't get it.
Let's go defense! No!
Then a series of penalties puts Newton South into field goal range. Suddenly, it's over. Lincoln Sudbury loses by 3 points. The boys thought that today's game would be a test of their manhood. They were right, but not in the way they had imagined.
We worked so hard for the last 4 years, and we just couldn't pull it together this one last time. And we knew that we were capable of so much more. And so that left us all feeling kind of empty.
These young men are going to have to prove that they can cope with an immense disappointment.
Everyone, I'm proud to be a part of this team, all right, you guys? I love you all. Good year.
Here we go. LS on the 2-3 for the last time, boys. Great season.
2-3!
People sometimes ask me why girls have deeper friendships than boys. I don't believe that's true. It's just that boys express themselves differently. Today, they show deep compassion for each other. They've learned that emotional courage is courage. Our job is to help them learn that lesson well. If we can do that for our boys, we'll have guided them a long way on their journey to becoming healthier, happier human beings.
Awesome, you guys!
We began this program by stressing that America's boys are in serious trouble. Over the last 2 hours, we've explored ways that we can address their problems. That effort must start with a better understanding of the psychology of boys. We need to remember that boys, as much as girls, have an emotional life, and that they have their own way of learning, which must be accommodated in the classroom. We need to realize how important it is for boys to have a father or father figure, an adult male who can model manhood and teach boys that there are many ways to be a man, and that being a man means being responsible, caring, and emotionally available.
To learn more about Raising Cain, visit us at pbs.org. National funding for this program was made possible by contributions to your